Like how do you differentiate between these groups?
Yeah, so there's a really nice overview in the white paper. Let me pull that up quickly. There are 4 first-class citizen technical types at the moment, and those are citizens, DAOs, and a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. It represents a business or an enterprise, or it could be a government, or it could be a community, or it could be a set of people wishing to govern a commons. So that's kind of, a DAO is an abstraction. It says this is a group of people wanting to do something together. It's a project. And that can be various types of things, various types of groups of stakeholders working together towards some common goal. And the idea is that we're going to break that down into several subcategories, like governments, like enterprise, like builder communities, to have their own different way of working as a DAO. So that's the second type. The third type is a app. So it has a specific, at the technical layer, there's a specific primitive to say that this is an actual entity. And this is very different from what you see in current state nations, is that we actually give a legal entity to an app. And that means we can assign governance properties to an app as well. And we can show data governance and algorithm governance. And there's actually a really important part of this project to have well-governed, sustainably governed software in this, new digital age that we're working in. And the fourth primitive is a special type of DAO. It's called the governance DAO, and it's the ecosystem governance. And that's the special DAO that we have governed using liquid democracy. So it's a specific type of DAO that governs the entire Pangea Virtual Nation. The last type of stakeholder here are what we call service providers. These are technical infrastructure providers that run the network and its services. So these could be blockchain node operators or people running the identity bridge. So they're the fifth type. And these are all run by DAOs. So the services run this. The DAOs run the services. The services are, again, a legal entity of its own within the virtual nation, again, so that we can show and trace back the governance and show sustainable governance of those services and make them accountable to the citizens of the ecosystem.
Perfect, Jack. So, Jack, what is the technology stack that you've been using in the backend for this platform?
Yeah, I just want to check here. I see Deployter is maybe wanting to have a question here. If you do, maybe type a message in the chat or request to speak. And if you do that, we'll put you on the stage or read out your question if anyone has any questions. I'm specifically addressing Deployter at the moment. But if anyone else has questions, you can also type them in the chat, or you can request to speak and we'll add you onto the podium or read your question out. So back to your question, what was it, Pinek?
Yeah, the technology stack, Jack, behind the platform.
Yeah, so we're trying to create a fairly flat architecture. And so we're using a bunch of, modern front-end frameworks for the front end. The back end, we have the blockchain. That is kind of the core root of trust for the rest of the ecosystem. That's a decentralized network of nodes that is basically keeping store of all of the public keys of the citizens and DAOs, and you use that to trace back all the rest of the trust proofs in the system. So that's one of the services. That blockchain is using the Antelope framework. right? So Antelope has been around for 5 years now. It was originally called the EOS.io framework, and it was used to launch the EOS blockchain in 2017. It's a very epic blockchain, launched by Dan and Amra. Unfortunately, the EOS blockchain didn't work so well. The governance of that didn't stick very well due to some bad management by Block One. But the framework itself was absolutely superb and extremely modular and scalable. And those were some of the key characteristics we wanted for this blockchain. We had to have it scale, and we had to have it so flexible that we could build a liquid democracy on it. And that kind of framework just doesn't exist out there in the wild. I think the framework used by Polkadot called Substrate is probably the one, or as or even more modular than this. But unfortunately, Substrate just doesn't scale so well. It still only gets to 400 transactions per second, so it wasn't suitable enough for us either. So that's the framework we're using for it. That protocol, Antelope, is being used still on EOS, but also several other public networks like Wax and Telos and UX. I'm not sure how many more right now, quite a lot. Interestingly, Wax and Telos and EOS are still in the top number of transaction throughputs per day in the world in terms of blockchain usage. So that's kind of one of the most core components, the Pangea blockchain. Then we also have some satellite services around that. One of them is a service which allows peer-to-peer communication between citizens and DAOs, or citizens to citizens, and that's a fully provably end-to-end encrypted messaging system. Another is the identity bridge. This is allowing us to onboard verified identities in an anonymous and reusable way, and that's an important part to ensure privacy while ensuring we have accountability within the system. There's also two data layers, public data layer and private data layer, that allows, as the name suggests, storage of different types of data for different use cases. We're using this in the DAO system, we're using this in the identity system to store public data about companies and create backups of recoverable backups of private data for citizens. So I think that's a solid overview of the most important ones. These are all listed on the website in the Pangea build, and it even shows how many services we're envisaging the network to have, and what kind of incentives are there to pay those service providers to provide that service within the network.
Yeah, Jack, I think before we carry on, there's a question from Dan, and he wants to know a little bit about our backgrounds and experience in blockchain.
Yeah, so I can, my background, I've been in blockchain. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2013, and I then went on and did a Master in Computer Science at Imperial College London. And at that point, it became clear that nobody in the class knew what blockchain was. And me and Professor Nottenbeld, who still is a key enthusiast in the crypto space at Imperial College London, we teamed up. We actually ended up teaching our master's class what blockchain was. Halfway through the class, Bitcoin and then Ethereum skyrocketed, and then everyone started doing projects on Ethereum. After that, I ended up teaching Ethereum in London for a year with a couple of people from the Ethereum Foundation, the others still in London, still educating. I worked in blockchain then for the next 6 years. I started moving towards digital identity, focusing on the new self-sovereign identity standards about 3 years ago. And that was when I started to see the final piece, the technical piece needed to begin this project. I've been thinking about this one for a long time, about how to build a virtual nation. And the digital identity piece was the last thing needed to really tie it all together in a user-friendly and still secure and private way. So I worked in many blockchain projects, digital identity projects, and digital governance projects to work up to starting to feel confident that we could do this. A few people have tried it, but it's quite a lot to do technically, and I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to start this until I knew the technology base was there, and we're using a set of very well-known and well-used technologies now. We didn't want to start building everything from scratch. We needed those core technologies there: digital identity, decentralization, the hard stuff to be there already to start this project. And that's when I started talking to Christian Verhoof, one of the other co-founders and board members, also in their call, and we started talking about beginning this project. Hope that answers your question, Dan.
Cool. So now, proceeding with our questionnaire check. Is there a minimum and maximum purchase limit on the LEOS token?
Minimum or maximum what limit?
Purchase limit.
Purchase limit, yeah. So right now in this current seed round, we've got $2.5 million worth, and that's a 2.5% supply. The minimum buy-in is $5,000 worth of tokens. And I think the maximum is 250,000. That's the plan at the moment. I think, if we have a particularly strategic purchaser, we might increase that limit. The minimum is fairly hard enforced though at this stage, and that's because there's an operational overhead to having small investments at this point. Once we get to the public sale will have a very low limit. It'll be like maybe $20 or $50 worth will be the limit at the public sale round.
Perfect.
Question from Yasin as well. He wants to ask a question.
What's his question?
Yasin, can you type your question in the...
Why don't we... I'm going to put him on the stage. Yasin can ask it as well if he'd like to. Or he can type it.
Okay. Meanwhile, okay. Is raised his hand. Okay. So I think while Yasin puts it across, we move to the next question, and we'll get back to Yasin's question in a while. So yeah, Jack, so if an investor decides to sell off the LEOS token that he or she may have purchased, what's the process for them?
To sell the token they purchased. So right now, the seed round, you're buying vested tokens. That's also the same with the next round, the strategic partnership round. Those tokens start vesting 6 months after the public sale, and they vest over a 2-year period with a 6-month cliff. So that means the first time that the seed round buyers can sell off will be 1 year after the... I'm just going to check our spreadsheet. I'm pretty sure this is right. Don't want to say it wrong. Yes, there's a 6-month cliff. Oh yeah, no, so it is a bit wrong. So the vesting period for the seed round, which is the current round, starts at the public sale, but there's a 6-month cliff. So that means that the first time that the current purchasers can sell their tokens would be 6 months after the public sale. And then for the next year and a half, at the 6-month point, 25% of their purchase will unlock. And then over the next year and a half, the rest of their tokens will unlock, and they can sell them on the exchanges that we'll be partnering with to launch the public sale through. The strategic partnership round is the same, except that there's an additional 6-month delay on that. So that means that their first selling point would be 1 year after, essentially. But the advantage for them is they're getting much closer to the public sale, and that takes away a lot of risk. But that also takes away some of their reward, so that's how it's structured.
Cool, Jack. So could you summarize the benefits and returns for investors within the Pangea ecosystem? And why should actually one go ahead and sign up with Pangea?
Investment terms?
Yeah, the benefits and returns for investors. And why
Yes.
should they sign up with Pangea?
So I think at this, so overall, people should be thinking about, what any of the investors in any of the rounds can think about the utility of LEOS and whether after the public sale, the price will change. So they might get a return on investment just because the value of the token goes higher. That can always happen. So to do that, you need to think about what is the Pangea Virtual Nation itself, what is the revenue model there, and that goes into what is the utility baked into the LEOS token. And that is that you can pay for the public services such as creating a DAO or creating a Web4 app with the LEOS token and only with the LEOS token. And then you could do global payments. And if it facilitates global payments well and better than Web3 and Web2, then it also has a lot of utility as well, just as a utility coin. LEOS also supports staking. So we've done a simulation and it suggests, and this of course depends on how many people stake, that there's a 5% per year interest on the coin if you're holding onto it and you stake. Of course, when you stake, you're both staking into the rewards, which is that interest, but also the risks. If the operator that you stake to makes a failure, you might be subject to some of their penalties as well. So that's the risks you take as well. So there are three ways that everyone can get involved in the LEOS return on investment. For this particular round, the seed round, the strategic partnership round, there's an additional return on investment, which is that the pricing is structured so that if you buy LEOS now, when we go and do the public sale, you would get 6 times your return, because the public sale price is 6 times what it is now. And then similarly for the strategic partner round, it is 3 times from the strategic partner round to the public sale round. I think there's a question. Does that answer your question, Pinak?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Dan, yeah. I think Dan is...
There's some questions in the chat there, Pinak.
Was the deadline? Yeah, was the deadline for the seed round? I think that's what Dan is asking.
Yeah, we don't have a hard deadline, but we're aiming to complete this round in 2 months. So we start on the 30th of April. That would mean the 30th of June.
We have one more point. Is when is staking planned?
So what is very nice about the Antelope framework is it's a synchronous, it's an upgradable framework, so you can do synchronous upgrades of the blockchain. And because it's modular, we can add staking on sort of as we go. We don't have to launch the whole Pangea network. And that's an important part of our strategy, to just build this month by month, and we'll be releasing features as we go instead of, raising a bunch of money and building it all in one big hit and hopefully not making any errors. I don't have a date for exactly when staking is planned, but I would assume it's, within, should be soon after launch if it's not there already.
There's one more question probably. So they're asking what is the minimum invest round, if I'm right, Mr.
we've already answered that. I see another question. What is the total investment amount today in LEOS?
Deep Ladder is asking about what's the total investment outlay.
Yeah, so you can actually see this on the website. I think as of an hour or two ago, is $137,000 worth. But we are updating this on the website. On the sales tokenomics page, you can see the current total investment amount and the total number of customers at this point in time.
Cool. So I think it's time we are back to our questionnaire. So the next question, Jack, is for a new user in the Pangea ecosystem. Can you run us through the steps of the whole cycle, from the purchase of the LEOS currency to all the activities possibly which can be undertaken within the virtual nation?
Well, right now you can join, you can become a citizen. You just need to download the United Citizens wallet. And there's a page on the website that will link you to the mobile app. Creating a wallet is a step. You create a username. So we have some nice technology there. The username is private, but if you send it to somebody else, they can find your account in a fully public and decentralized way. You need to then, you're given a 6-word passphrase. You need to remember those or write them down. But 6 words, they're actually quite rememberable if you just do it a couple of times. And then agree to the terms of the network. And then you have your account. After you have that, you use our single sign-on system to log into apps. And right now there's one app that's really interesting, which is the sales platform. You can log into the sales platform in a very similar single sign-on flow that you have with Google, but you're using the United Citizens wallet. And once you've logged in there, then you can purchase LEOS up with a minimum of $5,000. So that's our first app. We are, we're planning on launching several apps. They're documented quite well visually on the website, but also elaborately in the white papers. We have the Pangea Build platform. You'll be able to log into this with United Citizens wallet. And from there, it'll kind of feel like a neobanking experience, like you're using Bunk or Monzo or N26. So it'll kind of feel like that. That's kind of the user experience we're expecting. But there'll be a decentralized backend. And then there's some of the other apps like Pangea Build. That'll be for Web4 builders, where they can log in and launch and manage Web4 apps with smart contracts, identity features and whatnot. You can launch into Pangea DAO, where you can start a DAO, you can manage the members, you can manage your constitution of your DAO, articles of association, other agreements will all be managed within there. And they're the main public applications, so provided by the network. And then of course, the builders can create other applications. So a builder might create a to-do list app, or they might create a NFT marketplace, or they might create some cool governance tools. Maybe they build an app to govern, some lake in the middle of Australia. So these are all apps that are part of the app ecosystem that users can log into, and those apps will be using the same tech stack deployed on the Pangea tech stack to create this Web4 user experience and privacy and security features.
Perfect, Jack. So Jack, what made you choose this business idea, and how do you foresee the future for it?
So each of the founders has a bit of a different story here. It might be nice to ask Christian to jump up on stage after me and say his bit on why he was interested in starting this. for me, it was a combination of two parts of my life. The first, I'd been working in blockchain, decentralized governance, and decentralized identity for a number of years. I could start to have a vision on what was possible and what kind of problems, this technology was solving. And the other part was my personal life as a global citizen. I've lived in 8 different countries and seen a lot of different cultural differences. And through that process, seen what kind of global issues planet Earth has. And I started really seeing governance as a extremely important part of running the planet, running a country, running a city, that's just not up to scratch yet. And I think the issue is the current state nation's infrastructure is either corrupt in some countries or very incumbent due to lack of priority of innovation. And therefore, there's a huge amount of room for improvement at the global level, which is something I've always been very interested in, but also at many other levels of society. And I immediately wanted to build this project to start to solve some of the biggest issues the planet's having, like global warming or looking into migration crises and stuff like this. But it's a tool set that can work at so many different levels. Having good governance can, will make a system work sustainably long term. And I saw Bitcoin, blockchain, they are basically a governance solution. Bitcoin is a monetary system that's just governed by hardware power that's permissionless. So it changes the governance model, but the service it provides, money, is the same as what we know with money today. The difference is the governance and maybe a few subtle other things. But I see that as one of the main values of this blockchain technology. I don't know, maybe it's good to ask Christian to jump on stage, give his piece to this answer. What do you think, Benak?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Chris, you want to
see if this works? All right. You listen well?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, for me, I have been. I also said this a little bit in the chat. I've been trying to get blockchain in the hands of the general people for quite a while. I started with a meetup after meeting blockchain or digital Bitcoin currency at the sea in Turkey, where I was flabbergasted because half the Bitcoin was very expensive, right? But I thought it was very cool because I understood it's about power dynamics, spreading power and governance around how we do things as a society, because money is a tool. So that's what got me interested in blockchain to begin with. And since I have been trying to build meetups, and then I started to teach the technology. Then I started to try and build it myself with students in blockchain labs. And what struck me a lot is from all these other from these projects that I was trying to deploy and trying to make work, is that a lot of them were hot air. So I was here at the one hand thinking, wow, what a great technology, and on the other hand is, oh, this is being abused quite heavily. And so when I met Jack time ago, and I heard this idea about creating a digital nation, I was like, wow, that's big, and yeah, that's cool. And he really understood the idea of a sovereign nation state, the idea that you are independent, you are guarding your own borders, you function for yourself and then for the greater good, but not on behalf. You're not beholden, right? Not in service of anything else besides yourself first, and then everybody else, which is how economics learnings it should work. And that's when I decided, okay, I really want to do this. And this is also why we stayed and we are non-profit. while he took insane efforts into making sure that that we are not beholden to anybody else, so that it can actually do what the promise of blockchain was, which is to kind of free us of systems that would, be beholden over us. And not to say that our current systems are bad, but I think I would be remiss to find anybody in this room that could say that, well, the current system is doing just fine and everybody's having a great time, right? I'm not saying that it should be a totally monetary system or anything, because that also doesn't work. But honest accounting, as we say, is, in my opinion, the best way forward. And I think with this system, as this has been built in the way that it has been built, actually solves a lot of the problems that we have seen in systems, and as a result, I can't be more proud of this moment. And now I want to see it actually fly.
Chris?
Thank you, Ben. I hope that kind of answers your questions. And if there are more questions for me personally, you can also, I'm very active in the chat for you.
Yeah, we'll check you back on the stage if we have some more. There's one in the chat I see. Is there an opportunity that coin will list earlier than planned? It's quite possible. We're looking at the current market of investment, and seeing the bull run, and want to be part of that very much. So it's possible. It's also legally allowed, which is good for us, and we've checked this quite a few times with our lawyers, what we can change and what we can't, because we're doing a fully MiCA compliant launch, which is actually quite exciting and a lot of work. I think we're quite open to doing it that way. Like Chris has said, we are trying to do things well, and to make as successful a launch as possible is not just about timing, but also about showing the capacity of the team and convincing investors why they should join. The more we can build or create better stories when we get to that point, the better, and that takes time. So that's kind of how our investment roadmap is structured, to give us the time we need to make a good public sale. And we're also very aware of the market conditions. We have set aside, after this current seed round is finished, we're going to be having a full review again, and looking into maybe doing some restructuring or retiming. That'll all be part of a discussion after the seed round's finished.
We have one more question. Maybe I can take this question. So what makes LEOS an interesting and potential token? So LEOS is a part of our virtual nation. So basically, it's a Pangea is the name of the project, and the part of that project is LEOS token. So what interesting is that, we have, you'll get your own identity, which is Pangea passport, and it's super secure because we use passphrase. So it removes the hack and everything. Jack can explain more in details, maybe technology-wise. Also, we are completely MiCA compliance, and we are the only one in Europe which we are already ready with the MiCA compliance, and all the tokenomics has been done by Brightnote. And we are potentially quite secure in that way. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, I would add a few things onto that. So if you look at crypto offerings, one, you've got to just think of the Pangea Virtual Nation. It's a fairly new kind of way of packaging together a network. It's not just another L1 blockchain. It's not just another token on a blockchain. It's a virtual nation. And that's an important concept to grasp, to understand that LEOS is a bit different. There's a few more subtle things that are different. The first is the MiCA compliant token. That's going to be quite novel and very important in the coming years. I mean, you see what happens when tokens don't comply. People go to jail and operations stall or halt. I think another really important part of this sale is that we have gone for a launch first, sell after approach. And that means we've spent the last 2.5 years prototyping and developing the tools needed to launch already a fully functioning scalable layer 1, an advanced Web4 wallet application, that's the United Citizenship wallet, and the token running the blockchain, with a few of those server components already part of our architecture and built in. So we didn't want to just have a fluffy, nice story. We also have. We wanted to show that we can and have built technology. I think that's also another really interesting part about the token sale right now compared to other token offerings.
Perfect, Jack. So getting back, while talking about the MiCA regulations, are there any restrictions or limitations for country-specific purchase and usage of the LEOS token with respect to the MiCA framework?
Yeah, so MiCA applies to EU residents, and that means it applies to citizens and any businesses in the EU. And by doing a MiCA compliant sale, it safeguards the Autonomy Foundation, which is a Dutch entity, and we would have to comply with MiCA to be able to operate this sale, as well as interact with LEOS once the network is launched, which it already is anyway. So that means that anyone in the EU can legally buy it. Of course, there are a lot of other jurisdictions in the world, and MiCA does not apply to them. So right now, we have limited the sale to EU residents only, businesses or people, to make sure we're doing a fully compliant sale. And as soon as we hit our soft cap, which looks like it's going to happen within a week, we are going to be extending the jurisdiction of the sale to a couple of other high priority areas. I think we're thinking of the UAE, UK, Canada, Japan, Australia, US will be high priority, and we'll be thinking about which ones we go with which order. And of course, we're going to be looking and talking to partners, depending on where they are. We might prioritize other jurisdictions as well. So right now we are fully EU compliant, and other places we're not allowing to buy right now to make sure this is 100% compliant sale. Yeah.
Good. So, Jack, for those who are new to Web4 technologies, what would be your guiding principles?
What would be my what? Batting?
Or what would be your guidance for those who are new to Web4 technologies?
Yeah, well, I think you're asking like, what is Web4? Yeah, so Web4 is a term. It's not a new term. It's actually interesting that the EU, the European Union itself, has a Web4 strategy published out there. And we're actually using a definition quite similar to that. So Web4, as we define it, is both an upgrade to Web3 and an amalgamation of existing smart technologies like AI, VR, and metaverse that combine together to create one smart, intelligent, user-friendly platform. So the Web4 platform that Pangea is built on contains some important elements like blockchain from Web3, but we have infused our identity solution with some very cutting-edge usability features, and we call this our sovereign single sign-on system that allow really easy usability of web apps without giving away custody of keys, without giving away your sovereignty. And this is something that doesn't exist in Web3 right now. We're also using, really well-built, modular, upgradable, and scalable frameworks like Antelope. So we know we can scale and have low latency, so it will still feel like a Web2 app, even though it's a really advanced blockchain system behind the scenes. None of our users should know any of these technologies are being used behind the scene. And then on top of that, we are supplementing Pangea with some additional technologies. It's got a bit of a gamified concept built into the identity system. And that is because we wanted the identity system to remain free forever. And with the free forever identity system, you still need to have ways to prevent bad actors from getting in and contain and maintain accountability. So to do that, we have gamified the identity system to mean you have to kind of level up through the identity system to get more and more access. Each of those levels is free, but there are different challenges such as identity onboarding or social proofs and stuff like this. And we're also have, as part of the vision, using artificial intelligence. The primary place we want to use this is in the decisions and governance assistance. So we definitely don't want artificial intelligence to be running the governance system. That would be a terrible idea. But we wanted to help people join in the conversation on governance issues. So suppose when they're making a new policy around health within Pangea, just as an example, if a new person comes in, they can immediately get a summary of the discussion so far, and AI can do that quickly. Or if they're creating a new proposal, a new policy, upgrade to a policy, AI can support them in suggesting improvements and things they haven't thought about, perspectives they haven't thought about. So these are areas where we're thinking of integrating artificial intelligence. The whole platform itself, it's going to have a platform kind of feel, but at some stage we could easily see it kind of having a bit more of a virtual reality feel, perhaps, which takes it more in the metaverse direction. So all these technologies comes together to create this smart platform, which we call Web4.
Great. So I think I still have a lot of questions here, but we'd like to understand the general opinion of the audience and everyone else. That do we carry on with the session here, or do you want us to reconnect over a follow-up session? What do you think, Jack?
Well, we have one more question from Deployter. What is happening between the second and public sale in the period found in half year of what yeah, I can add to this. Unless somebody's dying for this to be longer, I think we call it a day after this question, because we can do this again in 2 weeks and there'll be a different audience and we have other questions there as well.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, you can answer this and then
I'll answer Deployer's question. So what is happening between the seed round and the public sale? So we're using the seed round funds to move us rapidly towards that public sale to make it as successful as possible. That involves some marketing. We want to work a lot on the storytelling. We know that Pangea Virtual Nation built on Web3 is a mouthful. It's a lot to get your head around. We want to make the storytelling really good so we can immediately tell people the thing they want to know without a lot of jargon. So storytelling, marketing, we have an indirect marketing strategy. We want to get KOL and other influencers involved to start building a story online and social media around virtual nations, around the technical concepts that we call Web4, so that when we do launch the public sale, people will already been talking about this, and all of a sudden that there is a epic platform that's doing all the things people are talking about. At the same time, we're focusing on jurisdiction expansion of the LEO sale, that's from the legal side, and strategic partnerships. So we want to actually start launching Pangea technologies now already. So we'll be building Pangea DAO, Pangea Bankless, in iterations, so people can start to get the feel of the platform as they buy it. And again, this is part of our build first, ask for money later part, to really show people what this platform is about, so that it's a lot less abstract. So these are our primary operations during the next year to make that public sale work as well as possible.
Perfect. So, Jack, I think we have one last question for the session today, and then we can reconvene. So here it goes. Jack, how possibly would non-crypto investors be attracted to the platform?
Yeah, good question. We have made an explicit decision to target the crypto industry for this sale, but that does not mean it's not interesting to everyone else. In fact, it is very interesting for everyone else at a couple of different levels. So Pangea is a virtual nation itself, that concept, creating a globally accessible virtual nation with universal citizenship that anyone can create a business on easily. It starts to look at some of the bigger macroeconomic trends and issues in society at both global and local levels. So we're talking about creating a global liquid democracy, and that's starting to talk, we're starting to talk about that's making a platform where you can have the collective decision-making tools and consciousness and discussions and deliberations that can, really bridge our gap as a planet or as a community or as a, local city. So I think that's just a really important tool for society, and a lot of people get that. I'm living myself with 50 people, and some of them are already asking me. They say, "Oh, cool." It just makes sense to a lot of people, I think. You can also think more on the services side of Pangea. So if you think, a lot of you guys are in the Netherlands, and it's quite easy to start a business here. Pay 50 euros to start a ZZP. If you want to start a foundation like ours, you generally need to go to a notary, and you need to pay at least 1,000 euros, usually more, to set up an articles of incorporation. So in the Netherlands alone, that process, if you did that within Pangea, would be 50 cents per user per month. It's way cheaper, it's way faster to start, that takes away risk. And you can have all those features. You can have your articles of association signed by all the members. Our AI tools help you make that. There might be much smaller notary fees to get maybe a lawyer to check it, but way less than the Netherlands. And that's kind of an easy country. If you start looking at countries like Chad or Ghana, if you want to start a business, the bureaucratic and paperwork overhead to get a business started, to open a bank account there is astronomically difficult. So in the same way as Bitcoin unbanked, banked the unbanked, Pangea can bring public services to those who just have terrible public services right now. And that's a critical service people need to form legal entities, to form legal communities and projects together, and work together, create decisions, create agreements. So I think that's just a really valuable service for anyone that's not in crypto as well, to start working together and collaborating.
Great. And I hope that the whole audience had a great engagement hour. And, we hope obviously to catch up with you next time as well. And meanwhile, we'd appreciate certainly your presence in the Pangea Virtual Nation. And you're welcome, for those who are yet to be onboarded. We appreciate the audience today, as well as the co-founders and team. So looking forward to the next EMA. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Chris, Chedna, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Anybody is interested to get to know about a sales platform, please let us know. We can provide you with all the details.
Yeah, just chuck any questions in Discord. It's also always an option. Thanks, everyone.
Cool.